I'm just like you. I'm also working full time. I'm also trying to figure it out. I also have like, mental health, ADHD, all the things I'm worried about. And I'm trying to get to, my frisbee game on Thursday night, just like the next person. I'm also a bobsledder. We were in the car and Aaron said, we're going to ultimate frisbee. And I said, I don't know how this is going to go. Didn't know anybody on the team. Aaron had a connection through school. We got there and ended up being just a lovely group of people who all kind of didn't know each other. We're all kind of nervous and all good at sports and all just excited to learn and enjoy it. And we were terrible at frisbee. And but we really enjoyed it. And so we played the next year and the year after. I haven't found this, but some people have actually improved at frisbee over the last 5 years. I haven't. But we've just really grown as friends and we just really want to hang out. Now we play in like a multi-sport league in the fall, which I'm going to be missing this year. So that's a bit of a bummer, but I'll play when I can. And we just do all kinds of events together.
I love that you are a self-described indoor cat.
Yeah, definitely an indoor cat.
What does that mean, buddy?
It means that on anything but the most beautiful, perfect day, I would probably rather be inside, rather be not participating. I like to think of myself as like this indoor cat who has collected this wonderful outdoor cat as a partner. And she just kind of, like, hey, let's go do stuff. And I'm like, oh, do we have to? And then I get dragged out there and I end up really enjoying it and having a good time. But if left to my own devices, probably wouldn't leave the house.
Spoken like a true indoor cat.
Yeah.
He's in the car. Where are we going? No, meow.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I was enjoying my time on the couch, and then I got dragged into this wonderful group of friends.
I identify with a lot of that. I do have to ask, though, like, how does an indoor cat find themselves in a bobsleigh?
That's a great question. I think just trying to get in the habit of saying yes to life. Obviously did the RBC training ground. I was an ice hockey player for first 20 years of my life. The sun was setting on hockey. It was time to retire to a 9-to-5. And I said, why not just see what this bobsled thing's about? So I went out to the RBC training ground. At that time, I didn't know anything about the sport. I did really well at the RBC training ground. It was great. They invited me back for the next round. And then there were some recruiters there. They were interested. They said, why don't you come try this? It worked out really well because I had like a little break from hockey for Christmas. So my last year at university at Dalhousie. And so they brought me out to Calgary and they said, just try the sport, just give it a shot. So I went out there thinking, okay, great. I'm going to be there for a couple days. Somebody really experienced is going to take me under their wing and just, show me all the ropes. I'm going to get a really good understanding. And it wasn't until I landed in Calgary that they were like, so this is pilot school. Your pilot and you are going to take turns driving. They've never been on the hill. You've never been on the hill.
How do you even find the trust to do that though? Because I've gone down one time and it wasn't on ice, it was just rollers. And that was terrifying in and of itself, but the person knew what they were doing.
Totally. Yeah, I think the administration really understands that a lot of people shy away from the sport once they try it, and they want to kind of give you no option but to just go forward because going back is too challenging. So, by the time we got there, your flights are paid for, your accommodation's paid for, you're there for 5 days. You're like, okay, it's just 5 days, I'll get through it. And, the first time I drove down the hill, the same day was the first time I saw the track at all. And we did what we call a track walk, where you walk through the track. And we're walking from the finish line up to the top of the hill. And we get to the first, they called it a corner, but I was like, this is just kind of like a building with it's just a wall. And just trying to process, I'm looking up and I'm like, this is 15 feet high. And the coach is there and he's pointing at the little marks on the ice and he's talking about the sled. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like it's 15 feet in the air, sideways. I thought this thing drove in a straight, not a straight line, but I kind of thought slightly banked turns.
Maybe
right?
5 feet, not 15.
Not big walls. And of course, the bottom of the track is the biggest corner of the track. That's going the fastest. So we walk up the hill and we're like, oh my God, we're just wide-eyed. We have no idea what to expect. And me and this guy who ended up not going through the sport, he and I played rock, paper, scissors. He won. So my first time ever down the hill was in the back, and his first time ever down the hill was in the front. And they just kind of threw us off and said, good luck.
Oh my, were you wanting to win rock, paper, scissors? Did you want to pilot first or?
Yeah, I think I wanted to drive first for no other reason than I this is so much anticipation. I just have to get it out of my system. It has to happen so that I can then process that it's happened and not keep worrying about it being something that's going to happen.
And now we're here.
We're here.
Come on, like Milano Cortina, you're getting set for your second Olympic Games.
Yeah, it's been a blur. Most athletes, they start 4 years old. They're training through their whole career. The Olympics are something that's always kind of a thought. For me, I think I gave up on making the Olympics as a hockey player when I was 8 years old, and I wasn't the best player in my local competitive team. And then from then on, it was just like, okay, I'm not going to make the Olympics, but maybe I can make the NHL. Oh, I'm not going to make the NHL, but maybe I could play professional hockey. Well, maybe I could get my school paid for. And so I kind of come to terms with the fact that, my goals had to be reduced a little bit. And then I step into the sport of bobsled, and all of a sudden, this dream comes alive again that I had long put to bed.
And more than that, and I want to get back to hockey, but you're balancing training with being an electrical systems engineer. Can you just tell me what an electrical systems engineer does, please?
Yeah, totally. I work for a small company in Ottawa. We're called Sea Ridge Technologies, and we basically do all of the digital innovation that happens at airports. So one of our main products is basically this really cool view of all these cameras stitched together to make it look like you're looking out the window. And the controllers on the apron can see, hey, that's Air Canada 123, and it's headed to gate 15, and they don't have to look out the window. They've got like augmented video so they can see overlays and all these cool features. And, we've got a team of salesmen that sell our product. We've got a team of developers that write the code. And then the systems engineers basically do everything else. We create the solution. We design the specific solution for each airport. We go in, we install it, we troubleshoot it, we configure it. Cool.
Have you always been into planes?
No, definitely not. I didn't have any passion for aviation at all, but you spend time around it, and all of a sudden you're like, it would be pretty cool to see an A380. And people are looking at you like, what the heck is an A380? I'm like, well, let me tell you.
Let me tell you.
Know all about
Hold
it now.
Hold my beer. Yeah. I'm always fascinated, though, when someone is so intelligent and your sport and your effort is 4 and change, 5 seconds. Like, I can only imagine that you bring some of the systems and the engineer mindset to what you do. Like, are you just always intellectually pulling apart your part of this Olympic dream?
Yeah, totally. I think sometimes to a fault. I'm fortunate enough to have the Calgary Ice House records in the individual push, which is kind of a big deal.
That is a big deal.
But, I look at the names of people who previously held that record, Jesse Lumsden, Lascelles Brown. Like, I'm a great athlete. I don't, sell myself too short, but those guys are on a whole other level. They're a world of talent away. And so I attribute most of my success to the analysis of the push, looking at the video, breaking it down into extraordinary detail and trying to come up with what tiny optimization can I find? Because at the end of the day, this last 7 years has been about taking something that takes 5 seconds and trying to make it take 4.99.
So what are those tiny things that you're trying to make just a little bit sharper for the folks sitting on the couch right now at home?
Yeah, I think that's the $1 million question. I think if we knew what the details were, everyone would do it and I'd be out of a job because there's people who are more talented than me out there. I liken pushing to sprinting, but a lot of push coaches come in and they'll say, pushing is sprinting and we just need you to do all the things that sprinters do and you'll be successful. And I like to live my life in the wonderful ways in which pushing is not sprinting, all the little nuances, all the little differences. So, sprinting has this real depth and wealth of knowledge and research, and there's so much literature involved in sprinting. If somebody came out tomorrow and said that, you should run in a way that has never been thought of before, they would pretty quickly be ridiculed, and pretty quickly, people would be able to point to, a substantiated evidence that says this is not the way to sprint. That's been tried, it's been documented, and for these reasons, scientifically, we can show you, you need to run just so. And bobsled has none of that. There's a few wildcats out there with a few special ideas, and generally the hope is you take talented people who do running or running adjacent sports and hope that they can figure out whatever that secret sauce is that makes them special.
So I know there's so much transfer from track and field to bob, but being a hockey boy, like, were you sprinting hard? You weren't trying to be Andre DeGrasse.
Not at all. Yeah, I don't have much sprinting technique background. I still don't sprint well. It's been 7 years of me trying to learn how to sprint. That actually hasn't come quickly. Pushing came quickly to me, and I think all the ways in which it's not running are the ways that I've been able to succeed. And I didn't have so many bad habits from sprinting because there's things you need to change. The rule book has changed in pushing. You've got a resisted load. It starts going downhill. You get into what we call overspeed mechanics, but you're trying to accelerate the sled. You've got a sled to hold on to support your weight, and your arms are taken out of the equation. So sometimes people with a running background, they actually find it's like a detriment because they want to do what they can't do.
Yeah.
I kind of didn't have any habits at all. So yes, I was really rough around the edges, but it wasn't a big deal. Hockey actually has arms and legs kind of desynchronized, right? You're stick handling.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily swinging your arms while you're skating. So you have to separate upper and lower body. So that part has kind of been natural.
So I've had the privilege of following your sport for a long time now because I've trained alongside you folks a long time ago. And you are taking a different approach though. Like you're in Ottawa, you are, with all due respect, training mostly alone. How do you find the little, I guess, northern star to know that this is going to work out for you?
Yeah, I like to think back to my time in university. I was taking a couple of courses part-time while I was trying to work for a hockey scholarship, and I was playing junior hockey, and they're both decent time commitments, but it wasn't like I was overwhelmed with stuff to do. And I didn't do super well in school, and I didn't do super well on my hockey team. And it wasn't until I kind of put much more on my plate when I was full-time at Dalhousie in 6 classes with all with labs, playing hockey at a higher level, adding workouts that I wasn't doing before, where I'm like, and going, having more time socializing with my teammates, where I basically didn't have an opportunity to sit down and catch my breath because I was just doing something all the time. And my marks greatly improved, and my hockey was greatly improving, and I was going, I have severe ADHD, and some people with that condition, free time is not a gift, it's a burden. And so I kind of find if I've got a plan and I've got something I need to be doing all the time, I just stay the course. I'm happier. I'm actually more relaxed, even though it might not seem like it from the outside, because I've got a plan. I know what I need to do, and all I have to do is execute.
That's a brilliant answer, and thank you for your vulnerability. I did not realize that you had ADHD.
Totally.
But there's so many athletes that do, and that's like amazing that you're doing this on your own and doing it for yourself and your way.
Yeah, this is just like something that helps me cope with it.
Well, it's a pretty good coping mechanism, buddy. You are one of the best in the world.
Thanks.
So a lot of your teammates are kind of Calgary based or Whistler based, but you are in Ottawa. So how does that work with that dynamic?
Yeah, basically I do all my training here in Ottawa. I lift in this gym at 1855, and I do all my sprinting at the tracks, either at Terry Fox or Immaculata. And then when we have camps, I'll go into Calgary for a week at a time. The one thing we don't have in Ottawa is an indoor ice house like in Calgary. So a lot of weekends are spent driving down to Lake Placid so I can do those workouts. So that's kind of how I get the workouts in. As far as what the dynamic is like between, not being with your teammates, because we have a daily training environment in Calgary. So the athletes there, have each other to push them. They have each other to hold them accountable. Everything's in one place. So I'm a little more spread out, and I just have to look to, the people in my gym to push me, or internally. But the people at 1855 are so impressive. So it doesn't take. You don't have to look far to see somebody who's outworking you and makes you bear down, work a little harder.
Is there anything you want Canadians to know about your story?
Okay. It's kind of a tough one.
It is tough. It's philosophical.
So I'm sitting in this gym. This gym means a lot to me. It's a CrossFit gym, and CrossFit has this reputation of people always talk about CrossFit. They won't shut up about CrossFit. And my experience has been the exact opposite. I come into this gym, and I'm an Olympian, and some people think that's really cool. I come into this gym as somebody who works full time and is here to train in the evening, and I'm surrounded by people doing the same thing. They work full time, they train in the evening. Not everybody cares as much about the thing they're working on as bobsled sometimes. But they're working every bit as hard as I am. You know, they're breaking a sweat, and sometimes I'll be doing my squat workout, and, you know, there's long rest in between, and I just kind of sit and wait to recharge because bobsleigh is a nervous system heavy sport. And they're out there and they're just like doing burpees and jumping and sweating, and they're working so hard, and I'm going, I got to pull my socks up. Like, I'm not even the hardest worker in this gym, and everybody here's got a full-time job. So I guess to go back to your question about what do I want Canadians to know about me is like, I'm just like you. I'm also working full-time. I'm also trying to figure it out. I also have, like, you know, mental health, ADHD, all the things I'm worried about, and I'm trying to get to, you know, my frisbee game on Thursday night, just like the next person. I'm also a bobsledder.
Thank you for your vulnerability, buddy.
Thanks.
As an ex-hockey player, it's got to be pretty exciting that the boys are back.
Yeah, totally. I think it's 12 years since the last time that the NHL players made an appearance at the Olympics, so it's going to be pretty cool. I think, you know, there'll be a whole group of fans who are, you know, NHL fans who are excited to see, you know, Sidney Crosby at the Olympics again, Connor McDavid for the first time. So that's going to be pretty cool. Definitely excited to see those guys. I mean, who isn't? I'm
not even going to ask if you're going to get down to a game because I don't think you are, buddy.
No chance.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't want to rub the salt in the wound.
Yeah, no, if I wanted to, logistically, I don't think it's possible.
I don't think so.
But we're in the same village as curling, which will be cool.
They are very fun people.
I've heard that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And biathlon's an hour away.
Awesome.
That'll be sweet.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I'm pretty excited about all my teammates. You know, we've got living legends like MPP and Mikhail Kinsbury. Like, I'm excited to meet all those people.
Did you get to meet them in Beijing?
I got to meet MPP a little bit, and it was pretty cool. You know, without the NHL players there, she was like unanimously the most famous person there. And she did such a good job giving everyone the time of day. But it was pretty clear, you know, when we encountered the hockey team on a couple occasions and everybody's like clamoring to talk to her, and she's doing her best to give everybody kind of like that cool experience. I'm kind of looking forward to the fact that, like, she's still going to have a microscope under her, obviously. But the fact that people are going to be distracted by the Sidney Crosbys might mean I'll get a chance to chat with MPP a little bit more.
Well, I think we can make that happen. So yes, she is an absolute beauty, and I love that you give her props because she is like she's the leader of the Olympic team.
Yeah, I mean, she just has so many golden moments, and like the resume speaks for itself. I think, you know, she's on a whole other level.
And she's an even better human than she is an athlete, which is saying something because Girlie's not a bender.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
She's very good. Yeah.
And I'm really excited to support the other sliding sports. You know, we talk about how obscure bobsled is. The skeleton folks, you know, they've got to do it all on their own. They don't have a team behind them. Luge, you know, this is going to be the first Olympics, I believe, with doubles women's, and they're going to be included in the relay. The relay's pretty fun and exciting. Would love to see that kind of thing in bobsled. I don't know how it works logistically with anybody going over. The other sliding sports are growing, and if you know, if we're not supporting each other, then who is?
Have you ever gone down a luge? Have you ever gone down a skeleton?
I wish. Actually, when I was recruited by RBC, you know, that I was approached and they said, we think you'd be good at this. I said, yeah, I'd love to try skeleton. I'm really excited about skeleton. I said, well, you're actually too big. You'd have to be a bobsledder.
You're too big.
And so I said, oh, shoot, that's too bad because I really wanted to try skeleton. I guess I could settle for bobsled.
Yeah. But they did say you were too big.
They told me I was too big, yeah. So there's weight limits, and they figure, you know, I'm not saying it's impossible, but the typical skeleton athlete would probably be about 30 kilos lighter. So it would have been a real challenge. I'm not sure if it was, I don't know the exact weight rules, if I could have possibly made it work, but I think I'm actually too big.
If you had to lose 70 pounds, that wouldn't be very fun.
No, that wouldn't be a good time for anybody.
No, you'd be having to wear a garbage bag.
Yeah, be a very sickly little
like
indoor
Rocky.
cat.
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't be good.
Indoor cat mode.
Yeah.
Of course, this is your second games. What's the biggest lesson that you're taking from Beijing and going to live in Milano Cortina?
Yeah, I think definitely that mentality that I need to live in the moment, say yes to life, enjoy all the things I can enjoy, you know, not necessarily like give in to all the distractions, but I think sometimes just trying to block them all off and say no to all those distractions constantly is in itself a bit of a distraction because then you're just thinking about trying to ignore it all the time. So it's about letting it in a little bit, enjoying it when you can, and then when it's time to focus, you feel like you know, you don't have to dismiss anything. You don't have to put anything to bed. You've given it its time, and now you're giving your performance its time.
Do you think your mindset has shifted at all, having been to one and now having a blank slate, right? This is going to be very different than Beijing and in COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, in 2022, that whole, I'll say 2 years leading up, when I realized I had a real shot at making the games till when I was at the games, I really just tried to make my life fit bobsled. And now it's about making bobsled fit my life.
That's beautiful. And you're going to have your life there. You're going to have your family. You're going to have friends.
Yeah, that's going to be super cool. So I was fortunate enough last year at the World Championships, we were in Lake Placid. So it's kind of like a home race.
Yeah.
It's only 3 hours from home. And, I knew my partner was going to come out and watch me, but we reached out to a couple of friends. We said, would you be interested? Thinking maybe we'd get 1 or 2 more. I think we had over 20 people come out. They were all dressed up in my race suits, and they were like the whole crowd, like everybody on the Canadian team was trying to figure out who the heck all these Canadian fans were. And they were all basically our frisbee friends and extended friends from that friend group. So it was pretty cool.
How do you have 20 race suits, and were they washed? That's my follow-up question.
I will exercise that's the Americans who exercise their amendment right, but I will decline to answer about the cleanliness of the suits. However, you borrow a few suits from some teammates, you get a new race suit every year. So yeah, together we were able to come up with quite a few.
Mike, this has been such a beautiful conversation. I appreciate your time. What's going to make you most proud in your second Olympic Games?
I think just being able to stand at the start line and knowing I've done everything I can to prepare to be successful. No regrets.
No regrets. Water skiing, full-time job. You're a very competitive ultimate frisbee player. That's a lot, buddy.
Yeah, I like to think of it as I've got a full life, and bobsled's just one of the things I do.
And you do it well.
Thanks.
Thank you.